Right, we should be streaming to YouTube and to Rumble, and we are, and to Wake Up UK, and we are about to go out on Revolution Radio at the top of the hour. Just had everything crash, people. My streaming software. Guess what? So anyway, right, coming up just after the ad break at Revolution Radio.
Join me inside the iHeart every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. It's free, intelligent media for the politically aware.
Yeah. Oh. Coming up just after this ad break, folks. God bless you, Daily Chaos. We've got Cheryl in the room. Cheryl, can you hear us? I don't know who this person is. I think it's one of my guests using somebody else's account on Zoom. And we shall find out.
Government corruption. This is Revolution Radio.
Hello, Cheryl.
Doing microphone man here.
Yeah, God bless you, Misty Barnes.
Would you
Okay,
be willing
I'm with you. All
to
right.
trick
Coming up in just a minute, just about 30 seconds, people.
for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom!
The future is uncertain. I know this. Death is inevitable. I know this. But one thing is certain. As free men, it is our right to live unencumbered and in peace. And those times are quickly drawing to an end.
How do I show this on my Facebook, Ollie?
Hold on.
Your type ability to slip those chains increase incrementally with every passing moment. Inaction is no longer an option. It's time to raise our voices like a cacophony of thunder and lightning and tell the masters no more. And this is Nighthawk, and I say, for myself, no more. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, because the freedom is slipping away.
All right, thanks for listening while we took that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And yeah, we're going to get back to your host.
Doobie-doobie. Hold on. Is it working? Yeah, something's working. Thank goodness for that. Hey, folks. Oh, blimey. You know what? There you go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good people. And welcome to the Daily Chaos. The show ain't daily, but the chaos it is. Yeah, and coming up, JETFEST. So while COVID wanes, shortages are forgotten, the fuel crisis dissipates, and quaxx deaths are ignored, our betters jet in to prep us for eating bugs, for the end of liberty afforded with cash, and of course, for higher taxes to pay for their jets and jollies. Are we being taken for a ride? Roundtable today, former cop Stephen Place, who ran for UKIP's leadership and has since quit the party, like pretty much everybody else. Anthony R. Brown, a concerned semi-retired citizen who fears for the future of his family. Is there a better qualification? And campaigner Misty Barnes, who for years has been protecting kids from the worst of society. Now, here with me, and I think Bugsy is with me too. Oh, and that's the outro. Okay, right, we're not going to cut the show quite that quick. And we've got on-the-ground reports from Mr. J in Canada coming up in an hour's time. And from Craig Workman, God bless him, in Australia, who is here now as well. And we're going to be concentrating particularly on the competition for abject tyranny between the old Commonwealth states in the second hour of the show. But quick roll call, please. Can you hear me, Misty Barnes?
I can hear you loud and clear.
God bless you. You look as though you're in your car. Hold on, let me get you on the old video whatnot thing. Yes, Craig, over in Australia. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Registered nurse, lost his job because he refused to take the jab. God bless you, Craig. Going to be having a big old chinwag about what's going on over there in a little bit. And we've got Anthony Brown. Anthony, sir.
Yep, present and correct.
Thank you very much indeed. And Bugsy in his cab in London. Bugs.
Yo, man.
I'll tell you what, mate, I might as well start with you. First of all, a big cheers to you and to Leah and to Pauline and for sponsoring today's show. God bless you. Very much appreciate that. Bugs, what is going on with the fuel crisis now, so far as you're aware? Was it just a psyop or was it for real?
That wasn't for real, I don't think. I think it's what Jay said as well, that it was like a psychological test, you know? And sales of electric cars went through the roof, up 20% overnight, you know? And now there's no problem with the fuel at all. You know, I think they just I don't know. I think it's all very much a control mechanism. How much we need the government and how much we believe in them. That's what I think. But that's me.
It really makes you wonder. So we've got Misty in his car. Misty, what's your take on this? Have you had any problems getting fuel over the last, 6 weeks or something since they started kicking off that narrative?
Well, I embrace hyperventuality, so I've foreseen it coming. And I believe that it was so in order to get rid of all the excess fuel to incorporate the new one and get the economy moving. But it's dangerous because the Bank of England have looked on and decided to think about raising the interest rates. So it's making even it harder for other people, you know, the working class as well.
Yeah.
It has a knock-on effect for people to get to work as carers, people who work in the NHS. It's just making it hard. You know, the cost of living's going up. You know, we're not walking wallets to the government.
That's the big story, isn't it? The cost of living, really. Craig, have you had any fuel shortage in Australia out of interest? These guys are talking about the UK.
No, but the price of fuel has gone up. Like, it's about $1.80 here in Melbourne, which is very high by Australian standards. At the beginning of this, when the COVID situation broke out in March 2020, wherever it was, the price of fuel was 99 cents, and now it's almost double that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Unbelievable. Right, we've got a few folks in on YouTube. God bless you. Kenneth, Noel, Gabriel, Curran, Sarah, Tanis, and all of you lot over on YouTube. I will have to pull the plug on YouTube at some stage throughout the show. As soon as we start talking about stuff that matters, they can't take the truth. But I did want to just say hi and pop in, and you hopefully know where you can check out the show if you want to join us. God bless you. I hope you do. There's a clue up there, yeah, where you can find out where the show goes out to less censorious networks such as Revolution Radio, God bless you, and Wake Up UK, God bless you. There was no show last week. I was down with a bit of a cold, a good old-fashioned cold, yeah. Are we still allowed to have them, or do they ratchet them up to something else? I almost need to pull the plug on YouTube already just by saying what I just said. We'll see if we can go just a few minutes before we do that. So, guys, since I was last on air with Daily Chaos, we've had a few things happen. We've had the G20 in Rome, and we've had this COP26 thing, Cop Out, JETFEST, whatever it's called, in Glasgow. What is your take, Misty Barnes, please, about what is going on with this climate business? Is it being used as an excuse to bring in the Great Reset as a kind of a pincer movement, that on the one hand, and this COVID thing on the other, to try to corral us into this new world order? Or am I absolutely terribly cynical, deplorable, and goodness knows what, and I'm completely missing the bigger picture? Please, what's going on?
I think that this hypocrisy behaviour by these elite, clocking up air miles, cascades of cars, and then talking the flip side of the coin when they get in the conference. I welcome all the money that's been given and introduced to COP26, because I've been shouting for a very long time, if we help build these nations back up, people have got the option to go back home, and it'll put an ease on all of our countries. This is a cross. We live on it, and we're taking the right mickey out of living forever. This is a part of living forever. Hyperventuality we should all embrace. We were somewhere else before, but we couldn't remember. But we do all get that deja vu moment. Now, we know, and we've heard of the light, when we're lying on the slab, and we're off to the next part of living forever. If you choose to live righteous, and you will go onto the next part of living forever. And I firmly believe that it's a cross. We live on it, and it's up to us to save this part of living forever. So I welcome all the money that's been introduced on COP26. We should stop manning the earth, drilling the earth, fracking it, bombing it, and try and create comfortability and embrace the revolution, the world revolution, children's rights.
We've got Stephen.
To that.
Go
Amen
on, Bugs.
to that, my
Go on.
friend.
Go on. What's your take? What's your take on what you've seen with COP26, Bugs?
I think it's a disaster. I think that it won't work. I think you'll have a climate war at some stage. I think they're just having a big carve up myself. I think that they're all in there doing deals in shady rooms, and they're all having a big carve up at our expense. I think the green climate change, I think this is biblical, I told you, and I think it's getting a lot worse. I believe that these things are going to get 100 times worse next year. I think you've got a super strain coming. I think they know about that. They're going after the children to separate the adult from the child. That's what I see. I see them, it's all about money, and they will not stop drilling and doing this, that, and the other, because they're greedy bastards, and that's it. I don't believe any politician.
Anthony Brown, are you slightly less cynical about what you're saying? Is there? I mean, there is a responsibility, as Misty points out, for us to look after the rock. Yeah, but
definitely, yeah.
Go on. So, what's your take?
I look at it from the point of view, this COP26 is nothing but a money laundering exercise. They're just absolutely hypocritical.
There you go.
It's totally hypocritical, mate. But the thing is that the world's going to keep going, doing what it wants to do. No matter what man does. Man's puny at the side of what nature can do. I mean, you've only got to look around and look at all the volcanoes that are erupting. Who's going to stop them? Who's going to go and fill them in?
Well, I could think of a few people we could shove down that cone.
We could get but the thing is, as I say, they can't stop it. Then no matter what they say, as regards what they're going to do, they ain't going to stop that. And until they do, until somebody can tell me how they're going to go and plug the volcanoes and stop them erupting, then I'm not going to take any notice of them.
You're not going to stop them erupting. There's going to be more and more of them coming, and there's going to be more fires on the earth and heat. And in India at the moment, the heat and humidity is through the roof. They've got to paint their houses with white paint to keep the heat down.
The volcanoes keep erupting. The more volcanoes erupt, the colder it's going to get. For the simple reason they're going to shut the sun out. But the thing is, it's the world doing what the world does. You know, it's still evolving since it started, and I can't understand how they believe that they've got the power to change what's happening in the world.
They haven't got the power to change anything.
There are certain things. There are certain things that we could do. No, I mean at Paris, they reckon that Paris was a big deal or whatever. But I'm still recycling mixed material
I
containers,
understand recycling.
what have you?
Yeah.
I'm still seeing single-use plastic all over the place, and I go for a swim in the Med or whatever, and I'm surrounded by panty pads and masks, by the way, and goodness knows what else. But particularly, probably people need panty pads. I think that Joe Biden might need panty pads, for example. But some of this single-use plastic sort of stuff. I mean, we do have to sort out all sorts of stuff. I just wonder if they're actually doing it, or if they are just. I mean, what is cash? Boris said, what is it? Coal, cars, cash. And I don't know, something else I can't remember. What's cash got to do with cleaning up the environment? Can anybody fill me in on that?
Yeah, it's all to do with this Great Reset, definitely. I mean, they've already gone through phase 1, which was the COVID. Now they're going through phase 2, which is the climate change. Phase 3 will be the economic climate as regards banking and everything else and finance. And it's going to go on and on and on until eventually they just wipe us out. I mean, I'm in what they call a risk group. I mean, all this crap that has been going on for how long now? Since 2019. I think both actually. I think the son and daughter both had so-called COVID in 2019 in November. They both got over it, no problem. And then, of course, comes into January, and it's a big thing.
Well, it was more like March, wasn't it? And we saw the pictures coming out of Wuhan, and they didn't stop flights out of Wuhan ever, did they? I don't think. Whilst Wuhan was quarantined, and then what was it? Shanghai was quarantined, and some pretty major indicators like that. They were still bringing in all the flights or whatever. And
some Chinese friends of mine said it was all absolute rubbish what they showed you on TV.
Really? Because we saw pictures of people falling down, literally dropping dead or whatever in the streets in China.
Street falling down dead?
Zero. Apparently, it happens in India. They all, I don't know, end up in the Ganges or something, and it happens in Wuhan. But that's about it. I don't know what it is with these places. Right. So, Misty, what are your thoughts with what the agenda really is? Is there an agenda? Are they inept, or are they scheming?
They're scared.
They're scared.
They're scared. I mean, if we just look at it in our own countries and take it like this, we've got car companies, Mercedes, Vauxhall, Ford, Citroen. We've got all these car companies making and distributing cars that break the laws of the roads in our countries. How are they allowed to do that? How are they allowed to distribute cars that break our national speed limits? So just nipping it in the bud there, that could have a massive impact.
But that's about liberty, isn't it? That's about liberty. Because, for example, you can take a car, which you buy privately, and you can put it on a track, and you can, knock six bells out of it if you want to. And you shouldn't be stopped from doing that, should you? From the option, from the liberty to be able to do that.
You might feel safe, but the people around you who where your speed, and whether it be through a town or what have you, you are putting others at stake, in you really, by
You don't have to go over the speed limit, do you? It's a bit like with a gun. I mean, Alec Baldwin, for example. Sorry, it's not funny. He killed that cinematographer, poor lady. He's been saying for years and years and years, it's about the gun. It's about the gun. Well, no, actually, it's about the person that uses the gun. And whether or not they can use it. Is it not the same deal with a car? Is it self-responsibility surely is very, very important in a liberty-driven society, no?
Well, in the UK, if you supply someone with a gun and they go and shoot someone, they want the person who supplied the gun. You know, it's no different from the person that lit the match, innit? I was just fueling the fire, so to speak.
That's surely not the right tack, is it? Because if somebody makes something, and it could be because, for example, people want a gun for, I don't know, what was it Thomas Jefferson said? Basically, to protect against tyrannical government. That's why they've got the Second Amendment in the States, for example. Maybe we just are blaming the wrong guys here, or maybe these people like Alec Baldwin and all these jet setters or whatever that have gone to COP, maybe they're blaming the wrong people, and they should instead be focusing on people, for example, taking personal responsibility.
But I mean, a gun, if you get a gun, put it on that table, it'll sit there. It's just an inanimate object. It's same with a car. A car's just a pile of metal and cut of rubber and God knows what else. Until you put somebody in charge of it, some idiot, then nobody's going to get hurt. The same with a car. You get an idiot inside a car, and it becomes a lethal weapon.
You know?
When you turn the key on in a car, that's like loading a loaded gun. It's a dangerous weapon anyway. Whether it's a gun, a car, or whatever, it's the human being that has turned the key or pulled the trigger. And that's the point where they are trying to divide and rule us. And I do not care what anybody says. I think that man Misty's right. You're right about what you're saying about this environment, about the planet, about how they can't stop it. We have to stop it. They are scared, and they'll be. You know what? There's a thing that they'll all be exposed at some stage in the next year or so. They're actually bringing down their masks, and they don't really care who's listening to them or who's not. They're going ahead with the Great Reset. And there was a great thing I saw with Biden yesterday. Build Back Better. Boris Johnson's Build Back Better. France's Build Back Better. And it's an infinity sign, which is the occult sign, which is the Great Reset and the New World Order. And they are doing it right under our noses, and nobody's taking any attention.
That infinity sign is what Zuckerzitz is using now for his new logo for Meta.
It's worshipping the devil and occult and the Illuminati. It's all combined.
They've done it in an interesting way. They've spent millions probably with some design agency to give them that infinity sign, which somehow they've made it look like a pair of comedy breasts. Stephen,
or something else.
I thought your depiction of it, Ollie.
Yes.
Ollie, I thought your depiction of that penis on his head was fabulous. That was my first part.
Thank you very much indeed. This is a radio show, but I can't explain it though. Yeah, I mean it looks like a couple of danglers, doesn't it? Anyway, and he is a bit of a dickhead. Let's face it. Right, we've got Stephen Place popped in. God bless him, former cop. To give us a bit of good old-fashioned logic, yeah. Stephen Place, can you hear me, sir?
Hi, yes, I can. Yeah, well, are you all right?
Yeah, very well,
Everybody
thank you.
Okay, good.
What are you up to now? Because the last time you and I spoke, you were running for the leadership at UKIP. What happened?
Yeah, that's a very long story. UKIP did their usual thing, and made sure that they wormed me out, and I had to threaten them with court to get my deposit back, and it's all gone a bit bananas over there, hasn't it? I don't have anything more to do with them at all now, sadly. What once was a great party that, without having any sort of representation in Parliament, changed the course of the history of the country, has died on its backside, I'm afraid. It's long gone. So I was hoping to. I had a lot of support from across the country, and I was hoping to save it, to be truthful, and bring it forward as with a new sort of ethos and philosophy. But sadly, I think it was too damaged.
Stephen, God bless you. Thank you. Very, very, very sorry to have seen what has happened with UKIP, because it seemed to me that it was, if you like, the last chance saloon, Charlie boy, as opposed to a total loon, for there to be some sort of political representation for the great British people. Apparently, I mean, David, let me ask you. David Curtin came on this show a few weeks ago, and he basically suggested that UKIP is controlled by Conservative central headquarters.
Well, there's always been a rumour about that. There's always been the infiltrators from the Tory party. They were that frightened of us in 2015 that they would do anything possible to break us down. Hence the referendum, and that's where we were with it. But moving forward, there's some great parties out there. You've got Reform, Reclaim, and Heritage. David Curtin's party, Heritage. But the simple thing is, unless they all get their acts together, form one party, we're never going to break this two-party stranglehold that we have on this country. It's as simple as that.
That's very, very honest. Yeah.
They do keep splitting the vote, don't they? I mean, this kind of happened with the London mayoral election now, where you had a whole bunch of people.
It's going to happen now in Bexley Heath, where sadly David Brokenshaw, I mean, nobody wants to see anybody die at that age of lung cancer.
Yeah.
But he's gone. But now Richard Tice has thrown his hat in the ring for Reform. David Curtin, who lived there, he's standing for the Heritage Party, and I'm waiting to see if Mr. Fox is going to throw his hat in the ring, or some different. It's just ridiculous. They've got
just to further split the vote. I don't understand why.
They've no chance.
I just don't understand why Lawrence Fox, who says all the right things, it seems to me, he's very anti-woke and all the rest of it, why he can't get behind David Curtin.
Well, we've all got all three of these guys. They've all got their own excellent agendas, and if David Curtin was talking about, he's an educationalist, so his thing is with education and freedom of speech. Lawrence Fox is for freedom of speech and is anti-woke as well. And then you've got Richard Tyson, the Reform Party, who want to literally reform. I mean, look at what's gone on yesterday and today in the Houses of Parliament. I mean, we're all absolute mugs sat here while these guys are making millions of pounds off the back of us. And we're never going to break that two-party stranglehold. I'm 60 now. All I've ever known all my life is a Labour or a Tory government, and you don't have to swivel your head too far left or too far right to see what state the country's in at the moment, and has been for quite some time. It's difficult to know really on a show like this where to begin, isn't it, to talk about things. If you look from 2010 to 2018, the Tory party put us under the most severest austerity you've ever known, just to repay and deal with a 56 billion deficit. 56 billion. Then the Tory party, 2 years later, went and blew up the wall 37 billion on a track and trace system that doesn't work. Now, somewhere, at some point, in some time, perhaps not in my lifetime, this country and the people in this country will wake up and realise what's going on a day-to-day basis, because the whole thing is absolutely rotten from the top down. It's rotten, and but we're never going to break that stranglehold unless the people get together. And the name of the party is always synonymous with success. And what could be better than reclaim the country and reform it? Reclaim, reform. Get the guys together. You could even call it Reclaim, Reform Our Heritage Party, and get all three working together. They've all got the same ideals. They're all singing off the same hymn sheet. Get them together and form a party, and let's see how we go.
I love the idea of these guys unifying, absolutely. But the truth is that they're not singing from the same hymn sheet. I mean, when Curtin came on the other day, when Bill Etheridge, former MEP, came on the other day, talking about before the UKIP jolly, whatever, party conference. Important thing, yeah. They all get together and whatever you and decide policy, hopefully. I put to him, why isn't the party talking about the Great Reset? And he is absolutely on this show, just like Curtin. He talked all about what it means, where it's coming from, the dystopia behind the whole thing, the concern, the fact the media's not talking about it, etc., etc., etc. When it came to his own NEC, the National Executive Council, whatever it is at UKIP, the guys that run the party into the ground, they have got nothing. They don't talk about it at all. Zero. No. He said that he was hoping that would change at the party conference. I haven't seen any change since then. And with you mentioned Richard Tice, who's going to be running for Sidcup and Bexley or whatever it is, the opening there, the by-election that's going on there, that Curtin is putting himself up for as well with the Heritage Party, talking about the Great Reset. But Richard Tice isn't. Richard Tice doesn't talk about that. Isn't Richard Tice... I want to come back to you, but I want to open this up to you folks generally. Maybe, Misty, you'd give us your thoughts on this. And Anthony, is Richard Tice for real, or is he controlled opposition?
It doesn't matter who gets in. They've got to handle children's rights and handle it and take it professionally. Because at the end of the day, I can prove tyranny. I can prove Parliament isn't sovereign, and I've done that in the last 4 weeks. Parliament is not sovereign in social care. It's a molestation process put before the civil courts, and the judiciary, the rule of law, are making decisions in the civil courts on future risk of harm case for probabilities, taking children from the grassroots families and putting them into the immediate risk of harm into councils that more than meet threshold on their own rule of law. So children's rights has been banging on a drum for years to get in between Parliament and the monarch, and we're going to get there. So it doesn't make no difference to me who gets in. I'm above that now. I've got solutions. My solutions are building on a foundation of the police and combating social care, incorporating pre-service assessments into these local councils to warrant extravagant wages, to stop professional avoidance, regularly invest these kids in the care system. All the money you could obtain opening an assessment unit to keep it for the money within the care system, kids in care, reaching out to community children in terms of impact centres with police, community support, social workers, probation officers, etc. in these impact centres, preventing future risk of harm, keeping families together, all the prisoners, stop that revolving door of jail, £40,000 a year programmes. When they come out, work as a reunification programme with the impact centre and the police community support social worker, who would also incorporate them back into their family life the right way, so they're not on that revolving door of jail, and uphold these court orders made by the court known as contact orders, because at the minute they're false promises. So Parliament needs to be up in its level, because I can prove that Parliament isn't sovereign in social care. They're not only molesting the grassroots families, but they're molesting our acts and statutes of Parliament, going against codes of practice and clarification for the acts of Parliament, and they're calling it safeguarding social care. So you can't have all these kids in the care system being failed, rack and ruin, and these kids are being taken on cases for probabilities. These councils all meet threshold on their own rule of law, and the criminal courts know that, and they're granting these local councils PR. This isn't right. So
I agree with you as regards Parliament not being sovereign. The thing is, no matter which party, it doesn't matter who gets voted in by the electorate, the elite will tell them what goes and what doesn't. I mean, they're beholden to the elite.
I did it yesterday, live on a megaphone on Westminster Bridge, and I told Parliament and I told the judiciary yesterday as well, you ain't sovereign and you ain't lawful what you're doing.
No,
and I'm just leaning on my constitution and leaning on the British Bill, Article 9, freedom of speech. We've got a social care in this system that is not in parallel line with the United Nations Convention, the Rights of a Child. There's 42 articles to that convention, right? This country wrote that convention, and the social care is not in line with it. Nowhere near. So at the end of the day, Parliament They've failed massively.
Parliament has to be answerable to the people that voted them in, but it doesn't happen.
And I would never expect William. I would never take the birthright away from William to take the crown. Do you know what I mean? But if it's offered to me, I'll tell you right now, I would open all the Queen's estates, all the royal estates, to pay for social care. That's exactly what I'd do in this country if I was offered the crown. And I'm telling you, anyone that abused our flag and our poppy and disrespected our veterans, they'd be held in the Tower of London, and the tourists will be paying to come and view them. You want action? Follow children's rights, because it'll happen.
The problem is, it's not nothing to do with. Politicians at the present moment who are in, to be honest, majority of them, I should say 98% of them, don't care what happens. They're getting their wages. They're getting their salary. They haven't missed a salary check for 2 years.
National avoidance.
There's loads of other people have. But the thing is, until they get a system where the elite are removed from politics completely. The crown and all the rest of them are removed from it. Because while ever they're in power, the politicians that are elected by the people will not have any say whatsoever. The votes that you give don't count. Sorry?
We need an accountability work.
Definitely, mate. Definitely.
Well, that's the Queen. She's meant to be accountable, but she's doing nothing.
Well, they don't.
She's meant to hold them to account, but she's doing nothing.
Yeah.
She just sits there and does nothing.
Yeah.
Because she has to be impartial. But like the countries like of the Commonwealth are fucking burning. She sits there and does nothing. It's so frustrating. Like,
well, they're saying
we've got a tyrannous government here in Australia. It's not doing its job. The states are running rampant, and the Queen just sits there.
The Queen and the royals.
I've never done an opinion.
Okay, hold on.
Whoa,
Craig! If you're going to swear, I'm going to cut you off. Please. You can swear,
it's so
but only in Latin. All right? Okay.
Massive numbers of people with injuries from this vaccination, and people are just like walking around dumbfounded, like, what's going on?
You do have a very good point. Let me ask you briefly. I read an interesting theory.
Isn't it the Queen's job to protect her people?
Well, apparently she's not. Okay, let me ask Stephen about this, because Stephen and I've got a lot of time for Stephen, and one of the things I like about him is that he still comes on this show despite the fact that we disagree fundamentally on one or two things, and one of them is about the royal family, because I just lost all time. I was brought up to respect that. I completely was. But then I heard about Savile and did my research and all the rest of it. He was Charlie's marriage counsellor. And then there's Epstein with Andrew. I mean, a human slaver, for crying out loud. And you can't tell me that MI5 and MI6 respectively didn't know about Savile and Epstein and warn these senior royals about them. And there's old Queenie who's basically putting up Andrew at Balmoral, whatever, harbouring a fugitive to the law. And at the same time, then she goes on telly, Stephen, she goes on telly to tell us that if we don't take the quaxx, sorry, I might have to pull off from YouTube any minute now, because they can't take this according to their terms and conditions. They don't like having a debate about this. If we don't take that, whatever it is, we're selfish. Stephen, do you still feel the same way about the royal family, or are they just not fit for purpose?
I've always been a monarchist from the point of view that not like the guy from Australia is talking about. They're a figurehead. There's something which is good for the country in terms of brings in so much in tourism, and there's an awful lot of good they do. For instance, Charles, he's lost at the moment, isn't he? But the Prince's Trust thing has been absolutely amazing. The mental health issues that they're raising has been absolutely fantastic. Yeah. The Queen is unimpeachable. In fact, when she sadly, she will inevitably go, then I think the royal family are in big trouble. But what the good thing for this country is that it's like the pomp and the circumstance. There's nobody else in the world does it better than us. It brings in billions of pounds in tourism. If that goes and we have an elected Macron-esque type president, then I think we're going to lose a great deal. I cannot possibly argue or put up. I find it very difficult to defend the indefensible, and I'm afraid Andrew is in serious trouble. He's protected, obviously, but people see him for what he is. He's in serious trouble, as Andrew. I think personally, Charles, if they don't step aside, Charles and Camilla, for young William and Kate, I think they're going to be in serious bother anyway as a monarchist state in the country, because there's a rising tide for and a real growth in numbers for being a republic, and they're just sort of standing down. But I think they should stand down anyway. I don't think we should be looking at the Queen for royal assent to parliamentary acts and things like that. I think that should go, and I don't think there should be the state opening of Parliament where she says, you know, my government will do this. It is the government of the people, and so things are going to happen.
So you want to see them more as a figurehead?
By God, like she's anointed by God. Like there's something divine about the Queen.
I would like to see them more of a figurehead, representing the country, doing the good things that they do with charity. Nobody can take anything away from them with regards to charity work and things like that. But in terms of the monarch and politics, there has to be a massive divide in that. Definitely. And they should stand back from that. And we've seen that this week. I was quite.
What have we seen? Give us, for anybody that isn't sure, what have we seen in terms of the royal family in COP26?
COP26, the Queen and Prince Charles. Prince Charles actually said that he would be in favour of a world army coming in to enforce change. Sorry, Charles, you've lost the plot.
We've all lost the plot.
You should.
It sounds very frightening, that, no? Does that not sound?
No, it is bloody frightening, you know. And you wonder who's pulling his strings, if anybody is, and if he's the next monarch and the next King of England, with a hand on the political tiller, then I seriously think we've got some problems.
If the Great Reset's put into operation, there will be no royal family.
Well, if that's the case, that's the case. If that's the case, that's the case, you know. But I do believe that as a nation, a country, as a figurehead, to represent the country. Yeah. But they have to. It's so muddy is the water between their role as figureheads and head of the church and head of the army and charities and things like that. It's fabulous what they do there. But the waters are so muddy now between that and their political influence. Yeah. Then, you know, I didn't mind Charles talking about architecture and having an influence there at all. But when it becomes this is what we're going to do, then I have some issues with that, definitely.
He does have
yes, I can't.
He should stick to talking to his flowers, man, and his architecture. Well, get on with it.
Maybe so, you know. But
I quite like the eccentric side of old Charlie Boy when he's got his leak in his lapel. Eccentric. But it's all the other stories that you hear about that are most alarming. And you mentioned their role as the head of the armed forces, something which you would want them to carry out with aplomb, and which, as a kid, for example, I thought they did. But I'm not so sure now, because, I mean, for example, we're coming up to the 11th of November, a very, very important Remembrance Day. And on the one hand, you've got Queenie and co, you know, at the cenotaph, laying the wreaths and all the rest of it, and it's beautiful and important and symbolic and remembrance. But on the other hand, they're also effectively handing away the keys to the country to globalist tyrants under this kind of China model of control. And it makes you, when you've got old Charlie Boys stood up at COP26, you know, again, a guy that has flown around all over the place over the last few months, chalking up his carbon footprint like a right hypocrite, frankly. And you're talking about this, encouraging this police state with the kind of rhetoric that he uses. It makes you wonder, what did these people that the royal family is supposed to represent, what did they die for?
Nothing.
Well, yeah, as it's transpired, you know, yes, you know, when you look around the country and what we are and where we are, then yeah, I definitely agree with that. You know, they'll probably be turning in their graves right now. But I mean, we can talk about COP26 if you want, but I mean, it's just been utter rank hypocrisy.
Right, royal hypocrisy.
It's been insulting to our intelligence. People see it for what it is. They must think we're all thick. They do think we're all thick. They think that we don't know anything, we don't see anything. But people are seeing things, and people are becoming much more informed now, despite the shocking level of press that we have in this country. It's absolutely diabolical. So yeah, COP26 has been an absolute utter meat grind of hypocrisy and the elite behaving like the elite will behave. It's been a window actually into what could be coming further down the pathway.
Stephen, I don't think that the elite think we're thick. I just think they don't think about us at all. We're totally irrelevant in the scheme of things.
Yeah, you may be right, Anthony. But if they do think about us, I think they think we're thick and we're just plebs, and it disgusts me. It really does.
Too right.
You know, as a normal sort of everyday average Joe from Bradford in West Yorkshire in England, you know, yeah, it shocks me to the core that these people can behave like this. And
yeah.
But sadly, going back to what we were talking about before, the two-party system we have, unless people park their egos and unless people, you know, get together around the table, then it's always going to be the same, I'm afraid.
Yep.
I just want to say a big cheers to everybody watching around the planet on Wake Up UK, at revolution.radio, and at Rumble, and even at YouTube, who I haven't pulled the plug on this stream to yet. I was just putting a comment in the comments there to the folks that if we start calling out the quaxx, I'll have to cut this stream to YouTube because they keep giving me stripes. So please, you know, go and sub up elsewhere where you can actually see the show uncensored. But I will, because we will be talking about it in some detail in a minute. I in fact, you know what? I'm going to have to ask you guys now about this because it is so very worrying indeed. I'm going to read just the gist of an article that I copied and pasted onto YouTube. Onto Fastbook, whatever it is, Meta, whatever it is these days, earlier, and just to give people a bit of an idea of some of the concerns that people are having. And this particular account is from our cousins over the pond, stateside, and it goes something like this. The headline is, something really strange is happening at hospitals all over America. And it goes on. In a year that has been filled with so many mysteries already, I have another very odd one to share with you. Emergency rooms are filled to overflowing all over America, and nobody can seem to explain why this is happening. Right now, the number of new COVID cases in the United States each day is less than half of what it was just a couple of months ago. That's really good news, and many believe that this is a sign that the pandemic is fading. These are not my words, these are the words of Michael Snyder from themostimportantnews.com. I think he's got some interesting points to make. Let us hope that is true. With less people catching the virus, you would think that would mean that our emergency rooms would be emptying out. But the opposite is actually happening. All across the country, emergency rooms are absolutely packed, and in many cases we're seeing seriously ill patients being cared for in the hallways because all of the ER emergency rooms are already full. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. The following comes from an article entitled, "ERs are swamped with seriously ill patients, although many don't have COVID." And this is the quote. "Inside the emergency department at Sparrow Hospital in Lansing, Michigan, staff members are struggling to care for patients showing up much sicker than they've ever seen. Tiffany Dusang, the ER's nursing director, practically vibrates with pent-up anxiety. Bit like our Craig in Australia, looking at patients lying on a long line of stretchers."
At the moment. Write this down, though.
Hold on, Bugs. Hold on. Looking at
Alexi, I'm on the radio
Bugs.
program. Hang on.
Bugs. Oh, blimey. Hold on.
Oh, hang on.
Oh,
Hello?
I'm muting you, mate. You got to. I'm trying to produce a show here. Inside the emergency, but now I've lost my place. It's hard to watch, she said in a warm Texas twang, but there's nothing she can do. The ER's 72 rooms are already filled. Can anybody explain why this is happening? If the number of COVID cases was starting to spike again, it would make sense for emergency rooms to be overflowing. But at this particular hospital at Michigan, we are being told that some of the main things that are being treated include abdominal pain, respiratory problems, blood clots, and heart conditions. Months of treatment delays have exacerbated chronic conditions and worsened symptoms. Doctors and nurses say the severity of illness ranges widely and includes abdominal pain, respiratory problems, blood clots, heart conditions, and suicide attempts, amongst other conditions. That mention of heart conditions immediately got my attention, says the author, from a sudden, because I have been seeing this so much in the news recently. And this is the reason I'm reading this, because I'm seeing this every day, multiple times now. For instance, he goes on to say, a high school senior in Pennsylvania just dropped dead from a sudden cardiac incident. The high school soccer manager greatly enjoyed his team's championship victory Saturday. Later that evening, he was dead, according to a report that he's citing here. Now, late student Blake Barklage's high school is mourning his untimely death. As 6ABC in Philly reports, the tragedy occurred at LaSalle College High School in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. In a letter to parents, the school announced that the senior died after a sudden cardiac incident Saturday night. Elsewhere in the same state, an otherwise healthy 12-year-old boy just died suddenly because of an issue with his coronary artery. As family and friends grieve, the cause of death is in for a 12-year-old taken way too soon while warming up for school basketball practice. As Tribune Live in Pittsburgh reports, Jason Kidd, 12, of Bridgeville, Pennsylvania, died of natural causes involving his coronary artery, according to an Allegheny County Medical Examiner's office. Heart problems kill elderly people all the time, but it is odd that so many healthy young people have been having these problems. Over the weekend, Barcelona striker Sergio Aguero suddenly collapsed on the pitch during a match. He was later diagnosed with a cardiac arrhythmia. Sergio Kun Aguero, a striker for the Barcelona soccer team, this author cites, has been diagnosed with a cardiac arrhythmia after collapsing during Saturday's match against Alaves. The 33-year-old Argentinian was examined by medical staff at the stadium before being taken to a nearby hospital where he's still waiting to undergo further examination. Just 2 days later, a match in Norway was brought to a screeching halt after a player experienced cardiac arrest right in the middle of a match. A football match in Norway's second division was halted on Monday, this author cites, after Icelandic midfielder Emil Palsson suffered a cardiac arrest during play. The 28-year-old Sognadal player suffered the attack as the game against, I can't read that, entered the 12th minute, his club said in a statement. I have been seeing so many stories like this. So why are so many people suddenly having such serious problems with their hearts? Can anyone out there explain this to me? And now I'm going to cut off YouTube because they can't take the truth. I will put the link where you can watch the remainder of this show in the comments at YouTube. God bless you for watching. And here's to free speech. Just not, apparently, on YouTube. Right, so we can now talk freely.